Hello everybody. Today is the anniversary of the birth in 1912 of Alan Turing, who made huge contributions to the development of computer science and is well known as the person who broke the Enigma code, the code used by the Nazis during the war, and his breaking of that code saved many lives and contributed greatly to the Allies' victory. He's been honoured, among other ways, by having his face on the current British £50 note. But in his life, he suffered the indignity of having to go through chemical castration. He had an affair with a young unemployed workman, 20 years his junior, this person, Arnold Murray, stole from him. Turing reported the theft, and in so doing admitted that they knew each other, and investigation, one thing and another, and eventually Turing was put on trial under the acts which prevented homosexual relationships. And the young man, he got a conditional discharge, but Alan Turing was offered prison or chemical castration. It appears from reports that he didn't find the chemical castration as distressing as one might have assumed, that he had dealt with his fears and worries about that punishment and was fairly okay about it. And yet, just before his 40th birthday, he committed suicide. Cyanide poisoning is what the coroner said, and there were good reason to think that this might have been caused by him adding cyanide to an apple that he'd been eating the night before, just before he died. But of course, people argued, because of who he was, that he didn't commit suicide, and found various reasons why the poisoning might have been accidental. But one thing that points perhaps to the suicide is an account by the Greenbaum family, with whom Alan Turing went to St Anne's-on-Sea for a day out just a few days before his death. And he'd had a fortune-telling when he was a child, which prophesied that he would be a genius. But here at St Anne's-on-Sea, he decided, perhaps because he was coming up to 40, to have another go. So he went into a fortune teller. And the family he was with say that he came out, this sunny, cheerful visage had shrunk into a pale, shaking, horror-stricken face. Something was said by that fortune teller that really frightened him, and maybe this is what caused him to commit suicide. I don't know what advice we give ourselves if we're facing a really desperate and worrying future, or that we give to other people. The truth of the matter is probably that when the worst that we fear happens to us, we will find the resources within us to deal with it, because somehow human beings do respond to that sort of challenge, and that we will get through it. But I think that's not altogether helpful, and if you're really feeling desperate, you don't believe that. And the thing that I think, a bit of advice that we might give ourselves or to others, is that we must talk about it. That's why the Samaritans are such a valuable organisation. But without going to someone at the end of a telephone line, we need to talk to friends, to people about our fears. You see, that's what Alan Turing didn't do. He didn't tell the family he was with what the fortune teller had said, what it was that he was so frightened of, and had given him that horror-stricken face. Maybe if he had, maybe if he'd expressed it, then it wouldn't have built up inside him into such a fear that eventually he had to take his own life, to the great loss of the human race, because think what he could have achieved had he lived. And so I think just a reminder to us all that if our lives are blighted by real worries and fears about the future, don't keep them to ourselves. Let's share them with people that we know will support us, and hope that with them, and with that new strength that we shall discover if anything really drastic does happen to us, we'll get through it.